Why does Finland want to join NATO?
Good morning, Kay. Thanks for having me. Finland has been a neutral country for many decades. We never forgot about the threat of our eastern neighbor. We never were part of the Soviet Union because we had fought wars against Russia and the Soviet Union in our past. But now it's a different time. We saw that our neighbor has become even more aggressive, more unpredictable, and we feel it's the right time to join NATO, which we have been partnering with for several years already.
I think at the end of the Second World War, Finland ceded about 10% of its territory to the then Soviet Union, just to give our viewers an idea of where your border is and also the concerns that you might have. Is it because you're looking towards Ukraine and seeing what's happening there?
We have very, very strong solidarity with the Ukrainians, but of course we need to make our own decisions based on our geopolitics as well. And we feel that it's the right time to join NATO now and send in the application as soon as possible, just like the president has said this morning.
Yeah, and is it as a direct result of what's happening in Ukraine?
It's very much a result of what's happening in the Ukraine. We, of course, in the past 30 years, we have been members of the European Union, and we have very strong defense forces ourselves. We have a very strong defense cooperation with not only Sweden, but several NATO countries as well, like the UK, the United States. But following the events in Ukraine and the brutal invasion of Russia in Ukraine, we feel that it's just a logical situation now to join NATO, to partner up with our friends and allies in the West. We are a Western country. We have been a stable democracy for over 100 years, and together we are stronger in defending our common values.
What do you say to the argument that potentially it makes you more rather than less vulnerable? Because we've heard of, actually we had a representative from the Russian Duma on the programme a couple of days ago during the victory parades for Victory Day in Moscow. And he was saying to us that if NATO armoury found itself on Finnish soil if you become members of NATO, that they wouldn't stand for that because they would feel threatened.
Well, NATO is a defense alliance, and we are not there. NATO is not there to threaten anybody. All NATO members so far, just like Finland and possibly Sweden also in the future, will have joined NATO based on their free will, the free will of the people. We are democracies and we want to defend our values. That's as simple as it is. Finland has very strong defense forces and one of the strongest army in Europe, not only in relative terms, but also in absolute terms. We are happy to contribute to the overall security in Europe and to NATO overall.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying, am I, that, Elina, that you can muster, more than 200,000 personnel in response to any emergency?
That's right. And if we take all of our reservists, then we have closer to 1 million. That's right. And what comes to Russia and their possible response, well, Finland is a sovereign country and we are free to make our own decisions. And whatever happens, we are prepared.
Conscription, I think I'm right in saying, is still used in Finland, and the majority of Finns contribute in some way and undergo regular training, as you were pointing out there. What is it that Finland is bringing to NATO?
Well, we can defend our border as it is already by ourselves. And if it becomes a NATO border, well, it has been a European Union border with Russia for 30 years already. We can do that. And we are also happy to contribute to the overall security and stability in the Baltic Sea area, together with Sweden, together with the Baltic states, and to defend our common values in the region. We have a strong army. There was a trend some 20, 30 years ago for European countries to start divesting their militaries. We've never done it. We have always taken security very, very seriously, and we have very strong capabilities in traditional military, but also in cyber warfare. So we are happy to bring our competencies to the pool of NATO.
Yeah. Just a final thought before I let you go, if you'll indulge me, please, Elina. Is there any difference between the older population and the younger population in Finland when it comes to its view of Russia?
I think the younger population perhaps has felt freer in criticizing Russia and seeing Russia for what it is. The older generations, of course, perhaps already themselves, but also their grandparents still have the experiences from the Second World War and the threat that Russia has been to Finland. But now we can see in the polls that the very strong majority of Finns, roughly 70%, support NATO membership. So it's no longer a question of generations.